The University of Idaho Murders, a Night of Terror. Welcome back to our channel. Today's story is one that has left a deep scar on the tight-knit college town of Moscow, Idaho. It's a crime that shocked not just the community but the entire nation. This is the tragic and horrifying tale of the University of Idaho murders, a night when 4 bright young lives were taken in a brutal, senseless act of violence. So sit tight as we take you through the story of that fateful night and the aftermath that changed Moscow forever. The vibrant town of Moscow, Idaho, is a picturesque town nestled in the northern part of the state, known for its lush greenery and rolling hills. It's a place where life moves at a slower, more peaceful pace. The University of Idaho, the town's centerpiece, is a hub of student life. For decades, students from all over the country have come here to pursue their dreams and experience the college life Moscow had to offer. The fall semester of 2022 was no different. The university campus was bustling with excitement as students returned for classes, football games, and social events. Among them were 4 close friends who lived together in a rented house just off campus. These students, who we now remember as victims of a shocking crime, were Kaylee Goncalves, 21 years old, a fun-loving and outgoing senior majoring in general studies. Madison Mogan, also 21, known to her friends as Maddie, a communications major with a bright smile and an easygoing personality. Zana Kernodle, 20 years old, a junior studying marketing who was described as full of life and always up for an adventure. Ethan Chapin, 20, Zana's boyfriend, an athletic and friendly guy who was majoring in recreation and sports management. The 4 students were not just roommates. They were the best of friends. Kaylee and Maddie had been inseparable since childhood, and Zana and Ethan had a strong, loving relationship. They lived together in a comfortable off-campus house on King Road, a popular spot for students to rent homes. What should have been a normal night of hanging out with friends turned into a night of unimaginable horror. November 12th, 2022, the night before. On the evening of November 12th, 2022, the 4 students went about their usual activities. It was a typical Saturday night in a college town, and the group made plans to hang out with friends. Kaylee and Maddie went to a local bar called the Corner Club, a favorite among students. The 2 had been close since childhood and were known to be practically inseparable. They spent the night having fun and socializing with friends, as they often did. Zana and Ethan attended a party at the Sigma Chi fraternity house, which was located just a short walk from their off-campus home. They had been dating for a while and were a well-loved couple, both active in the university's social scene. Around 1:30 a.m. on November 13th, Kaylee and Maddie left the Corner Club and made their way to a food truck in downtown Moscow, a place popular with students grabbing a late-night snack. They were caught on surveillance footage, laughing and chatting, completely unaware that these were some of their last moments. The 2 ordered food and then got a ride home, arriving at the King Road house just after 1:45 a.m. Zana and Ethan returned home around the same time. Back at the house, all seemed normal. The students were unaware that someone was watching, waiting for the right moment to strike. The morning of November 13th, 2022. The following morning, everything appeared peaceful at first. 2 other roommates who lived on the bottom floor of the house woke up and noticed things were quiet upstairs. Around noon, one of the roommates tried to reach the others, but after getting no response, they became concerned. In a state of panic, one of the roommates called 911 at around 11:58 a.m., reporting that someone was unconscious. When police arrived at the house, they were met with a scene of unimaginable horror. Inside the home, police discovered that Kaylee, Maddie, Zana, and Ethan had all been brutally murdered sometime during the early hours of November 13th. The victims were found on the 2nd and 3rd floors of the house, with no signs of forced entry, leading investigators to believe the killer had entered quietly, either through an unlocked door or window. The crime scene was gruesome, with all 4 students having been stabbed multiple times in what police would later describe as a targeted attack. The sheer brutality of the killings sent shockwaves through the community. The hunt for a killer. With a killer on the loose, the town of Moscow was thrown into chaos. Rumors and theories swirled around as people tried to make sense of who could commit such a heinous act and why. The fact that the two roommates on the bottom floor had been left unharmed added to the confusion. Was the killer someone who knew the victims? Why did they leave without harming the others? For weeks, the investigation moved slowly. Detectives sifted through hundreds of tips, interviewed friends, neighbors, and anyone who might have had information, but no clear suspect emerged. With so little known about the motive or the killer, fear spread like wildfire. Students who once felt safe in Moscow were now locking their doors and looking over their shoulders. Police reassured the public that this was an isolated, targeted incident, but the lack of arrests or clear answers left everyone on edge. The break in the case. The turning point in the investigation came in late December 2022. After weeks of intense police work, authorities zeroed in on a suspect. His name was Brian Kohberger, a 28-year-old PhD student studying criminology at nearby Washington State University, just across the state line from Moscow. Kohberger had no prior connection to the victims, and the motive for the murders was still unclear. What made Kohberger an even more chilling figure was his background in criminal justice and criminology. He had been studying the psychology of criminals and had even posted online surveys seeking to understand how violent offenders think and feel before and after committing crimes. His academic work seemed to reflect a disturbing interest in crime, which made his arrest all the more terrifying. Investigators used a combination of forensic evidence, including DNA found at the crime scene, as well as surveillance footage showing a white Hyundai Elantra near the victim's home at the time of the murders. That same car was linked back to Kohberger. On December 30th, 2022, Kohberger was arrested at his parents' home in Pennsylvania and extradited to Idaho to face charges of first-degree murder. His arrest was a massive relief to the community, but questions still lingered. What could drive someone to commit such a monstrous act? The aftermath and court proceedings. As the legal process moved forward, more details began to emerge. Kohberger had allegedly stalked the victims for weeks before the murders, and phone records placed him near the house multiple times in the days leading up to the killings. Authorities also found chilling evidence on Kohberger's computer and phone, including searches related to the crime scene and the victims. The case against Kohberger was strong, but as of now, the trial is still ongoing. The families of Kaylee, Maddie, Zana, and Ethan continue to seek justice for their loved ones, hoping that the truth will finally come to light in court. The town of Moscow, forever changed. The murders at the University of Idaho left a permanent scar on the town of Moscow. A community that had once been known for its peace and quiet was now the center of one of the most shocking and tragic crimes in recent history. In the months that followed, students, faculty, and residents came together to honor the victims. Vigils were held, and memorials were set up to remember Kaylee, Maddie, Zana, and Ethan, 4 young lives cut short far too soon. The tragedy not only shook Moscow, but also sparked conversations across the country about campus safety, mental health, and the unpredictable nature of violence. Conclusion. And that's the heartbreaking story of the University of Idaho murders, a crime that will forever be remembered by the town of Moscow and by those who knew and loved Kaylee, Maddie, Zana, and Ethan. Thank you for joining me in today's true crime episode. If you found this video informative, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more true crime stories. Let's take a moment to honor the memory of the victims and keep their families in our thoughts. Thanks for watching.